Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. I hope that you are having a great day, getting off to a good start. I hope that you are having a good week as we wind down. However you have your week set up, however you plan it out, whatever you aspire to, I hope that you experienced some success in that. Uh, what I'm planning on doing today is connecting the conversation I had about quantum physics and energy and everything that we talked about on Wednesday, on Relationship Wednesday. We're going to move over into quantum physics today and talk about the power of self-healing, the power of self-empowerment, and how that connects to the quantum world, how we are directly responsible for that by the way we think. Our thoughts have physicality. That's something that I have written about, talked about, lectured on, and taught and shared with my clients. So we're going to get into that today. Before I do, a couple of things. On, I believe it was yesterday, or maybe it was Wednesday, but I believe it was yesterday, we talked about the fact that I had a few uh, spots open for one-on-one engagement, counseling, coaching, um, social strategy, things of that nature, helping you get to the next level. One of the most powerful elements of TVI, which is the Visionetics Institute, is the one-on-one engagement. Obviously, there's only one of me, so there's only so many people I can work with on a one-on-one on a one-on-one level. But I absolutely love it. Uh, I get so much out of it, not in just a one-sided thing. There's so much I take and gain from the people I work with. Everybody has this unbelievably unique and special energy. So many times it's covered up, it's buried, it's bruised. But when you get to peel those layers back, you get to shine it up, you get to see what's hidden under the trauma, what's hidden under the abuse, what's hidden under the misconceptions and misunderstandings of one's own self. It's amazing, and I get so much out of it. And I told you on the last time I came on that we had a few spots available. One has already been taken the same day. One was taken, so that's off the board. So we're down to two, maybe three, because that's one that we're still waiting to see if they're going to re-up. They're finishing a cycle and they're asking for some time to determine, if they want to go ahead and re-up again. And so that's up in grab. But there are at least two more that are out there. And so if you're interested in that, there's an email address at the top of the description box on this video, maybe a couple of spaces down, that you can email that address, tell them you want to work with me on a one-on-one basis. They'll tell you how you can get started, get you set up, get you connected with me, and we'll get moving. Second of all, if you haven't gotten my 20th book, which is the first book in a 6-book series that I'm working on now for personal development. Eventually, I'm going to name this series. I'm still concepting, but I have the books lined up. I just need to give it a holistic name, but it's all about personal development, personal growth. It's probably going to have something to do with next level. That's the goal. I want everybody always looking to live life on the next level living life at the level of your design, always aspiring to be the best you can possibly be at any given moment. If you haven't gotten this book, this is book number 1 in the 6-book series. It's also my 20th published book. And it's Critical Mass, the Phenomenon of Next Level Living. If you haven't gotten it, the link is in there. Also, you can pre-order the 2nd book in the series, which will be dropping shortly, and that is I Am addresses your self-talk, the proclamations and declarations you make with your speech about yourself. One of the things that we do is we speak a lot of things into our lives that we don't want to deal with, that we don't want. We spend so much time defining ourselves and our realities by our conditions that we create longer, more forceful realities with that speech. We have to be very careful of the declarations we make with our mind. And so I Am talks about the power of declaration. And so you can pre-order that. Not only will you get it at a discounted price, but you'll also get a free 30-minute breakthrough session with yours truly. With that being said, I'm going to go off into what I came to talk to you about. I was asked earlier by someone who watched the video I did on faith. Maybe it was yesterday, a video I did on faith. And they were talking about some of the elements, and they asked a question. So is it faith or is it quantum physics? And my response was, it's both. And I'll start with explaining that. Quantum physics is the explanation of the force of energy that initiates with our consciousness, our thought process, and it is one of the most powerful connective forces to the Almighty, the designer, the creator. And it talks about how the energy interacts with other energy, how energy is resonant, how energy creates opportunity, how energy literally attracts energy on the same frequency. So we're talking about literally the emission of hertz, energy that can be measured by hertz based on mindset. For instance, enlightenment or self-discovery or discovery period can be measured at 700 hertz or higher. It's the highest energy output when you are learning something new, when you are growing, when you are becoming. There's so many things that happen during that process. Number one, you're entering into new realms. Number two, anytime you're learning something and discovering something and becoming enlightening, the ideas of new possibilities also come, new positive possibilities also come with a heightened level of energy. So 700 hertz, but love comes in at roughly about 500 hertz. And to me, that's where you want to try to maintain your energy at all time, is 500 hertz or higher. But this energy emits. Now, here are things like anxiety, worry, anger, bitterness, fear. All those things are more than likely somewhere around 200 hertz or less. Some are even under 100 hertz. And this is what we know about energy. Energy is resonant, meaning that it attracts like energy. It resonates with energy on the same frequency. So when you're on a particular frequency, you tend to attract realities, people, situations, and circumstances that are on that level. It doesn't mean that somehow you can't encounter a circumstance that's not on there. But normally, if you're on a higher level, when you're on a higher frequency and you encounter something from a lower frequency, you're able to redirect it, you're able to rechannel it, you're even able to convert it. That's with training. You literally learn how to take negative energy and convert it into positive energy and use it. There are so many different examples of that. But in essence, your energy is going to dictate so much. It's not just in dictating what you experience in life, it's dictating your health, both mentally and physically, as well as emotionally and spiritually. You are literally creating an environment to where you're going to be healthy or unhealthy. We know that our nutritional intake impacts our health. We're learning more and more about that each and every day. But what most people aren't aware of is your state of mind has a greater impact on your health. I'll give you a prime example. We know now from a genetic perspective that people have what we're going to call, for the sake of clarity, disease genes. And these disease genes are genes that have to be activated and turned on for certain diseases to develop. That, people can be exposed. This is why people can be exposed to the same carcinogens, the same environment. One comes up with cancer, one doesn't. It's because of how their genetic makeup is and the environments that they're in most of the time, and so much more. Well, what we know is, so let's say cancer. Most cancers have to have at least 12 of these different disease genes turned on simultaneously, going at the same time for that to be it. Now, based on the environment you grew up in, based on how much of a stress level you deal with every day, based on how often you're angry, how well you're treated, how poorly you're treated, all of these different environments are creating the proclivity for these genes to be expressed or turned on. Gene expression is what creates these mutations and the degradation of the biosystem. Well, what we know is, you know, the more hostile of an environment a child grows into, the more likely they're going to have issues with their health. We know that these type of experiences, which are known as ACEs, which are uh, adverse childhood experiences, and each one of these experiences is worth a point. Once you reach 4 points, stuff like children, separation of parents is an ACE. Abuse and neglect is an ACE. Emotionally, physically, whatever, it's an ACE. Being bullied, you know, in an intense manner can be considered an ACE. Having a parent who is chemically dependent on something like alcohol is an ACE. And if you learned all of these different things that qualify as an adverse childhood experience, you start to understand that almost 68% of people in this country have at least one adverse childhood experience. 67%. But it's when you get up to around 4, where you've experienced at least 4 adverse childhood experiences, certain diseases, ischemic, you're 3 times more likely than someone with no ACEs to develop ischemic heart failure, the #1 killer in America. Depression, 3 times more likely. Diabetes, 3 times more likely. Suicidality, meaning that you actually attempt to take your life, 12 times more likely. And so these are the experiences as children that carry over into adulthood and move throughout the lives. And a lot of it has to do with the energy level. Every time you go through an adverse experience and you don't have a mechanism that returns you to your level, if you're on a high frequency and you go through adverse experience, your frequency will be lowered. How long it stays that way is going to be dependent on how well you're equipped to recover. And recover means getting back to at least a 500 hertz, energy level of 500 hertz. Everybody's going to be knocked down below that. You're dealing with life every day. This idea that you can circumvent problems, you can circumvent struggles, you can circumvent all of this stuff is not real, and it sets you up for a more painful experience when you do encounter it. You have to be aware of what life is like and what you're going to have to do to get through it. And my thing is, I try to tell everyone, you're built for it. That's your comfort. Not that you're going to escape it, not that you're going to overcome it, but you're built for it. That anything that you face, the designer, the creator of this universe, God has built you for it. That you have what it takes. And in that, you can sit up and say, I might not even have the answer yet, but I'm going to survive. I'm not only going to survive, I'm going to win. I am a conqueror by design. I am a warrior by design. I am capable of overcoming every challenge that I face. I have to remain steadfast. I have to trust God in the process. I have to be vigilant and diligent in doing my part of what it is it's going to take, but I will win. But here's the thing. What we know now is that this energy that's created by our thoughts, by the way we perceive things. And the crazy thing is, so much of how our thoughts decipher things is based on our perception. You can have 2 people who go through the exact same thing and get completely different results. It's because of perception. You know, we talk about it all the time, and there's always these debates and arguments, but at the end of the day, the truth is perception is reality. How you perceive something dictates how you respond to it. And because you're responding to your perception, it makes your perception reality. Now, your perception may not be based on facts. It may not be based on what other people consider to be reality, but it's your reality because you perceive it. And your perception is what's dictating your behavior. And that's how you're handling things. You got a bunch of people in prison behind falsehoods because they perceive something to be real. You got a bunch of people who are suffering from all types of mental illnesses and disorders because of a perception of something that is distorted. And what we find is God, in infinite intelligence, designed us to be self-healing and self-empowering. That in and of ourselves, that when we see who we are and we hold value to who we are, we literally are able to create an environment in which illness cannot exist. Remember, all illness has a genetic a genetic bench. I mean, a foundation, a platform, and it has to be supported genetically. When you're on a high frequency, when you have a high level of gratitude, one of the most powerful forces in raising frequency, when you have this high frequency, it's hard for these negative conditions, physical conditions and illnesses, diseases to take hold. It's raising the standard, but it's also how you return to wholeness and healing by the way you think. I mean, it's far too much to get into in depth in one encounter, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is your thoughts have physicality, not in just moving the universe, not just from the quantum idea or the quantum concept of energy having force and impacting energy, but also in the fact that the energy has a level. Think about it. When you worry about something, there's a physical reaction to it. You feel it. It's not just something you're thinking, you feel it. That quickly, you start to think about something and you feel it. And, anxiety, worry, all that stuff, you talk about butterflies, you talk about uneasiness, you talk about being jittery, you talk about all that, but it's an actual reflection of a physiological response to your state of being. It's real. You have created something in your mind. Now, here's the thing. We always talk about how you can imagine something positive in your life. And if you can imagine it clearly, that the brain cannot determine or distinguish between what you're imagining and what's real. So you start to literally experience the good thing. But that's the flip side of that. It doesn't just work for what's good and positive. Your brain can't, when you're worrying about something, it's your imagination at work. It's your imagination predicting the worst possible outcome of something. And when you start to imagine it, when this happens, oh my God, this, and this, your brain senses it and says, man, we're in a mess. And the energy level drops. You feel it in your body. And if you do that enough, what will happen is your body will become addicted to the negative feeling. As much as you don't like feeling that way, you allow your body to stay in that state long enough, it's going to become addicted to it. And then the body can function as a subconscious mind of its own. It can literally send signals to the brain and say, hey, this is what we're doing and this is how it's going. And that's what happens, what we call traumatic memory, where you're sitting up and your body is literally saying, normally around this time, we're on our way to work and he or she is cussing and we're uptight and we're tense because traffic is crazy. But all of a sudden you decided to leave and go to work a little earlier than usual. So there's not all this stress. And so, but what you'll do is you'll start feeling that urge to get uptight. You're like, what for? It's because the body is demanding that you do what you always do. It's what you do in ritual consistently that create these habitual behaviors. Remember that 96%, 96% of your behavior is habitual, subconsciously done without your conscious approval. It's just how you respond to things. It's how you do things. It's what you normally do, naturally do, and you've done it so redundantly, so consistently over time that the body knows how to do it without the brain telling it. It's literally better at doing it than the brain. So it literally just does things. You're uptight and upset and you don't know why. You're irritable and you don't know why. And it's there. You've got to retrain and recondition. You've got to come to an understanding that literally I not only have the power to change my state, but in changing my state, I raise my level of health, physical health, and I can literally heal myself from the inside out by taking away stress. Stress is highly destructive. Anytime you find yourself in a stressful situation, your body is literally detecting a threat. Your brain is detecting a threat that does or does not exist. Now, this is coming from the most ancient part of the brain, what we call the reptilian brain. It's highly responsive. Its sole purpose was to keep us alive. When the reptilian brain was the predominant and sole force, communication and creativity and all those things weren't at the top of the list. It was staying alive. You know, there were saber-toothed tigers and all kind of other things that were out to kill us. So we had to be highly alert, be able to respond. And what happens is when that brain detects the threat, there's a stress response. The stress response releases cortisol and adrenaline and other stress hormones into the body. Now, this is meant to be a very quick and short-lived process. It's meant for you to run or fight. It's called fight or flight. Most people have heard of it. Well, you know, you either, you know, since it's a threat, you either run from the threat or you stand up and you go toe to toe with the threat. And if you win, once the threat is eliminated, the heart rate starts to drop. The palms aren't as sweaty anymore. The adrenaline and cortisol starts to subside. You start to settle down and you get back into your normal equilibrium. But what happens is when you're spending every day stressed, when, you know, most people ain't worried about no saber-tooth tigers no more. Most people are worried about everyday life, but the brain cannot determine the difference between whether there's a saber-tooth tiger out there or you're worrying about whether you're going to get fired today. It can't distinguish it. And if you have a job every day where you're facing these stresses, or you have situations in your homes, your finance, your marriage, your parenting, your friendships, whatever, but it's a constant thing. Every day you're running from or fighting a saber-tooth tiger that doesn't exist. The problem is now you have these sustained levels of cortisol and adrenaline in your system, and they're starting to distract. They're starting to literally break down your organs, like your kidneys, destroy the heart, break down the liver, and so much more. Here's the other side of the thing on a higher spiritual level. Because of this state, you're also now activating certain genes that may have been dormant, that are negative genes, disease genes that can make you sick in so many different ways. You're starting to activate them. You're turning them on. And when you turn them on, they're going to start to express themselves. That's why you can get a person that smoked like a chimney. I know someone who smoked like a chimney. They're 94 years old. No cancer, no anything. I know people who haven't picked up a cigarette in their life, lung cancer. It's not, now don't get me wrong, don't mean go out and pick up a cigarette. It just means that it's more than what you see on the surface, that you have a responsibility to maintain a higher state of energy in every possible way. That when you don't, you know, it's like if you're not careful, you'll feel obligated to feel a certain way because of something you're perceiving. How can I possibly be happy or joyous or grateful or appreciative when this is happening in my life? It's like there's a guilt because I don't feel down. It's like, so I've got to come down to this because this is what I'm going through right now. The problem is the more you stay there, the more you create other situations that will keep you there. And you can't heal there. You ever notice that there are people that even the doctors have written off and they somehow come through it? It starts here. You can call it faith, or you can look at it in a situation where you explain it mechanically and dynamically. When people ask me what's the difference between faith and quantum physics, I tell them faith at first level, at first sight, faith is a concept. It's an idea of how something happens. It's simply expressed that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But faith is also perceived and understood in the behavior that follows. In other words, there's one thing to say, I believe something. There's another thing to have true faith, because true faith puts things in motion, both from the side of God and the universe and you. While faith is working in you, you're taking actions, and the very nature of your interactiveness, you invoke the power of God and the universe to conspire with you to bring that thing to which you desire. Now that's faith. Quantum physics is simply the explanation from a mechanical and organic level, explaining how faith is actually working. It's actually, I have a thought. That thought creates a certain energy. That energy creates a certain level of anticipation, a certain level of activity, a certain emittance of energy by way of frequency measured by hertz. That energy starts to attract whatever is on its level. It also implies and demands upon the universe what it believes. The universe has no other option than to perceive the frequency, to perceive the demand, observe the activity of one being committed to having it, and conspire to bring it. That's faith in action. Now you can have the faith to heal oneself. You can have the faith to empower oneself. You can have the faith to create things that don't exist. And that's the greatest thing, to be able to call something that isn't as if it were and to manifest it. And all of these things are possible. All these things are promised by God. But it is in understanding the level that you're operating at. You can't create anything operating at 200 hertz or less, 300 hertz or less. All of that is doing nothing but tearing you up on the inside and probably making the people around you miserable. You've got to learn how even, and I understand, trust me, I've been there. When you look up, it's so easy to be focused on what's wrong that you miss what's right. And I understand that sometimes you're getting your butt kicked so consistently, so completely, that you're going like, what do I have to be? You've got to train yourself, because I don't care where you're at and what you're going through. There is something in this world that you have that's a part of your world that's worth being grateful for. That's something that you should be appreciative for. And it's in your inability to be appreciative and grateful that you're missing out on the opportunities to raise yourself up out of what you're going through. By being ungrateful, you're practicing the very thing that's going to keep you where you're at. Because when you're ungrateful, it means I can't see anything beyond where I'm at. I'm not happy where I'm at, and I can't see beyond it. That creates a lack of gratitude. That also creates an expectation. And that expectation is going to create the level in which you engage God, the universe, and life. Life is going to bring you what you expect. You have to raise your level of gratitude. Sometimes the only thing you've got to be grateful for, and I'm being a little bit overboard because there's always a bunch of things, but on an emphatic level, sometimes the only thing you have to grab hold of is tomorrow will be better. My whole thing is, I wake up winning every morning. And people, probably wonder, with some of the things I've been through, how can I keep this positive mindset? Because I wake up winning every morning. Before I even get to count my blessings, I wake up into one. I wake up with breath in my body. I wake up breathing. And because I wake up breathing, you know what that means? That means I've got another chance to get it right today. I got another chance to do something extraordinary and special and powerful. I've got an opportunity. The moment I wake up and I'm still in this world, that means I still have a chance to do something that I haven't done yet. And that is enough to be grateful for. Then you look over, and if you're like me and you're married, you got something else to be grateful for. I don't care what you may be going through in your marriage. If you got somebody that's there that's believing in you, start there. Stop letting everything and everybody in this social media world point out the deficiencies in your situation, and start looking for the proficiencies in your situation on your own. And it's not about being in denial. It's about being intentful on seeing the work of God in your situation. You got a choice. You can sit up and see the negativity, or you can see the hand of God. You've got to choose that every morning. Am I looking for the hand of God in my life, or I'm looking for all the bull crap that's going on that I can complain about? Like I say, I wake up winning every day. And when you can wake up winning every day, you're on a good start. You got something good going on. Don't mean that I don't face challenges. Don't mean that I don't go through things. Don't mean that I don't get bumps and bruises. But see, there's a difference in being bruised and being broken. wake up with an intent on being grateful. Wake up with an intent on smiling. Wake up with an intent on being thankful. And I'm telling you, when you have a true heart of gratitude, watch how hard it is to complain. Look, I'm gonna get off of here. I got a lot to go. Like I said, I got a couple of more spots for one-on-one encounters, doing some crazy, unbelievable, remarkable things. I'm so excited about the people I'm getting to work with. Uh, hey, two more spots. The email is at the top up here. Just email that email address and let them know you want to work with me one-on-one. They'll let you know what you need to do, and we can get started on that. If you haven't gotten my 20th book, Critical Mass, go ahead and click the link and get this. Also, this is the first book in a 6-book series that I'm working on personal development. There's Critical Mass, and then also you can pre-order the next book, which is about to drop, which is I Am, where we talk about self-declaration, we talk about self-proclamation, about self-talk, how we're literally speaking our future destiny into our life. And how important it is to guard our tongues and to manage and monitor our thinking. You definitely want to pre-order that. You pre-order it, you're going to get at a discount price, promo price, and you also get a free 30-minute session with yours truly. With that being said, I'm jumping off here. You guys have an unbelievable day. I'm out. Peace.